What's good, guys? Charles from Team COG here, coming at you guys with my Nekroz deck profile. If you guys not see the Versus Locals video, highly recommend going and checking it out. I take this deck to Locals, end up going 3-1 with it, which, I mean, it's, better than what I thought I was going to do, and it actually opened my eyes to this deck and really igniting a fire in myself to, take this deck and get better with it. This deck has always been close to my heart. A little fun fact, in 2015 or 2016, the first Nationals I went to, I played this deck at Nats. It was completely slaughtered by the ban list. Shirt banned, YuGiOh at 1, BLMM at 1, and we still took it. Got a lot of, remarks and a lot of, admiration for some of the judges and stuff and some of the players there. So I think this year we might just take this to Locals to give homage since the deck is now at full power. But I had some really good matchups, and if you guys watch the Versus Local series, you guys will see that, YuGiOh is still a hell of a card. Without saying many much more, if you guys don't know, YuGiOh is literally a floodgate for extra deck monsters, and that's literally the entire meta right now. Minus Mitsurugi, but I feel like that's where your side deck has to come in to, check Mitsurugi and stuff. But, yeah, I'll showcase you guys my deck profile, go over some choices and stuff like that, especially cards you could cut. That's just preference. But remember, guys, that if you guys enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button, do that notification bell, hit that join button, get knighted, get perks and rewards, get your own, custom artworks and stuff like that in the Discord, so you guys can go make your own mats and everything like that. But also, more importantly, if you guys haven't forgot, Nekroz is a water archetype. You know what else is water? Dueling Guards Grand Line that has been dropped. Go ahead and use code COG5 to go ahead and get 5% off your order at checkout. Remember, every little bit that goes in the channel comes right back into it, and I get to put into it. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the deck profile. So I don't really, it's a deck profile, but let's discuss some things real quick. So 43 cards, there's definitely some cards you could cut and play, but this list will be entirely different, and we'll probably have a part 2 for the Versus Local series. And it might be, since if this is what I choose to take to Nats, it might be a lot of the Local series playing this deck. So, and a lot of testing videos coming out too, so just stay tuned for all that type of content and everything. Anyway, we're already 2 minutes in, let's jump on into the deck profile. So I play 3 BLMM. You should play 3 BLMM. This card is literally your Rhoda of the deck. And for those who don't know or not familiar with Nekroz, maybe you just picked it up. This card used to be back in the day, like $130, if not $170 more, when this deck first released in Hidden Forces. But anyway, this card allows you to discard it and then add yourself any Nekroz monster, and then its on-field effect is you can target 2 monsters, special summon from the extra deck, compulse them back to the extra deck. Pretty cool, right? I play double YuGiOh. YuGiOh is probably what is really allowing to keep this deck alive against the meta in some form or fashion, whether it be rogue or, just fighting for its life. This card on field is just to negate the effects of monster special summon from the extra deck, which is pretty crazy. Malice have ways to get around it because Malice can banish their extra deck monsters from the field. They banish themselves and comes back, and they're no longer special summon from the extra deck, so they get around it that way. But the other reason you play 2 is because of the hand effect. You discard this to add back a Nekroz card from your graveyard to your hand, which is pretty powerful. 1 Nekroz of Colossus. This card is literally your searcher for Nekroz spell and traps. No traps currently, believe it or not. And then its other effect is it's a quick effect to target a extra deck monster, make its attack 0, and then negate its effect. So sometimes you just end on these 2, and then when your opponent just climbs through the extra deck to get to something higher than 23, once they try to go battle, damage step, you go Nekroz of Colossus, turn it to 0, and then they just smack, and yeah, so pretty cool. But these cards are kind of like your utility, your searchers. They're like your lower levels and stuff like that. But they're all still pretty crazy. BLMM just allows you to clear boards, especially if you already have it established the YuGiOh. Sometimes hard summoning YuGiOh going second into an established field of, White Forest. Outside of the Vengeance, you're able to shut down all their synchros and stuff that they made. And then BLMM just comes in and clears out all the other ones. But anyway, onto the big names. We have Nekroz of Trishul. This card is really one of my, probably the second favorite card in the deck. This card, I just like the OG artwork, man. Just look at him stand there all majestic and whatnot, all powerful. This card is pretty crazy because it allows you to protect any of your Nekroz cards from being targeted. Pretty much as soon as they go in-perm, you just pitch Nekroz and it negates it, which is pretty cool, especially when you're trying to protect YuGiOh from just getting hit with in-perms. And then its other effect is when it is summoned. There's 2 things about this card. It's not as good as OG Trish because 1, it misses timing, and then 2, it has to hit the 3 cards in all 3 locations. Otherwise, it doesn't hit all the cards. So that means if, you throw it at them and they end up, discarding it by quick effect, whether it be Druid, Druid Worm, Bestial, Ogre, something like that, etc. And then they lose that 1 card in hand, and Nekroz Trishul does not hit the card or feel the hardened graveyard. At least, from my understanding, that is what it is. And then it's a win effect, so it can also miss timing, so you've got to have perfect window to smack down Trish if you want to benefit from it. Otherwise, it will miss timing, and you won't be able to use it. It'll just be a wasted summon. Moving on, we have Nekroz of Valkyris. This card is essentially the in-deck draw card. It allows you to draw 2, but most importantly, it allows you to negate an attack and end the battle phase, which keeps your Nekroz of YuGiOh alive for a turn, and it also keeps you alive, which can come up especially if this card is dealt with in some form or fashion. whether it be impermanent stuff and they just try to go battle phase to solve it, while they go and do their whole combo wombo, and then you just go Valk pitching it, you know, negating the battle phase, and they don't have the ability to out this. The following turn, this card effects turn back on, everything's negated. The new card, Nekroz of Metaltron. This card is, at first I was like, it's all right. It's not the best, but after the loss of Bahamut Shark, I do believe this card. You should play this card. It's so strong. Its pendulum effect is, you know, you put it in the pendulum scale, and then if a Nekroz card is banished, you get to target a spell and trap card and banish it. And then its on-field effect is SP Little Knight on crack, in my opinion. You target this card, and you banish this card, another card your opponent controls till the end phase. This card comes back, the opponent's card does not. A monster card, not just any card, yeah. And then finally, for my favorite Nekroz card is Nekroz of Rebear. This is your monster effect negation. And then it also allows you to tribute Nekroz cards from hand or field. Well, excuse me, you discard it, and then you tribute card up to 2 Nekroz cards from hand or field, and you send however many you choose to tribute from deck to graveyard, which allows you to fuel your graveyard. It allows a lot of bridges and stuff like that, which is really cool. But that's it for the ritual monsters. I do think this is a pretty sweet count here. 10 is just... since my first introduction to Ritual was Nekroz, I just felt like every Ritual deck should play a bunch of Rituals. It just doesn't feel like a Ritual deck. Even like Voiceless Voice, them always playing like the Skull Guardian. That was probably the closest thing, right? They played Skull Guardian and then Saravis. I always wanted to play like an additional name just to make it there, so that's why I always played the Blue Eyes Pendulum Dragon or whatever it was, the one that was a spell negate. But yeah, anyway, that's it for your Nekroz Rituals. We'll move on to your Nekroz Monsters. Triple Advance. Advance is pretty insane. This card is your 1-card starter. With the loss of Bahamut Shark, we do lose a lot of like 1-card capabilities, but this card by itself, 1 advance can equal you to an Reed Bear. So I mean, 1 card goes in, you get a monster negate out of it. It's pretty decent, right? And it can also get you to other things as well. You know, it can get you to a rank 4, which is pretty cool. Allows you to have some utility in the extra deck, even though you're trying to like in your board on. This is one of the few decks I've noticed that like their entire inboard, one of the best inboards the deck has, ends on all the rituals. Essentially, you know, a Reed Bear, Metaltron, Clauseless, and Unicore is pretty powerful. Also, the most powerful effect of this card, I almost forgot, is once per duel when this card is tributed by the effect of a Nekroz monster, or a Nekroz card, I believe, or maybe it's just tributed in general. You never use anything except Nekroz to do it. When this card, if this card's tributed by card effect, it's just if it's tributed by card effect, wild. You can add as many banished Nekroz cards back to hand. So you can fuel, you can get up to like 4 or 5 cards. If you play the one of Shifter and you shift your opponent, and then you end up having like 10 cards banished, Nekroz cards banished. If you tribute Advance once per duel, you add those 10 cards back, which is pretty crazy. And this card also counts as the full tribute for a ritual summon while on field. Move on to Triple Amelia, Dance Priestess of the Nekroz. This card allows you to special summon it from the hand if you control a warrior Nekroz monster in field or grave, and then on the summon, it lets you add a ritual spell or a ritual monster. It's pretty wild, and it also counts as the full tribute. This card plus Brionac is probably one of the best 2-card combos to build off and work off of that the deck has. It's pretty wild. For the final 2 Nekroz monsters that I'm playing a Shuret and then a Great Sorcerer. A Great Sorcerer just allows you to search out, when it is tributed, allows you to search out your Unicorns or your Valkyries, whatever one you choose to search out. It's entirely up to you. I opted not to play Ariel because Ariel just searches for any of these names, which can come up, I'm sure, in some particular combo sequences and combos lines, but there's just so many different lines and so many different like routes to play the deck that I just chose to stick with this and go with this. We're at a 43 card list. I don't want to play 44. I don't want to cut Amelia down because that was like my thought process, is maybe cut Amelia to 2 and then play Ariel, Great Sorcerer, and Shuret. But Amelia plus Brio facilitates the combo that I want the deck to be able to do. So I felt that cutting down Amelia was not like the smart thing to do. You know what I mean? Why would I cut down on the consistency of the best 2-card combo my deck has, or that I know of, right, in favor of a card that I'm not even sure can provide or do the same thing? But that's it for all the Nekroz, like normal monsters, you know. The 7 ain't too bad, I don't think. Or excuse me, 8's not too bad. So there's like right here, 18 of just your Nekroz monsters right here in your deck. Onto the spells, I am onto Double Divine Mirror, 1 Kaleidoscope, 1 Mirror, Normal Mirror, and 1 Cycle. I'll quickly go over these for those who might be new to the deck. Divine Mirror came out. This card should have been a secret. Konami definitely gypped us here. I swear, man, they're always doing something to make me mad. I'm surprised with the amount of times I've complained about them. They haven't come knocking on my door. But this card is really insane. It's a quick play ritual that allows you to, during the main phase, ritual summon any ritual monster. One Nekroz ritual, excuse me, by banishing or tributing monsters from your hand or field, or sending a Nekroz monsters from your extra deck to the graveyard whose total levels equal or exceed what you do. And that's pretty powerful because these Nekroz ritual spells their levels have to equal exactly the level that you're trying to ritual summon, unless, you know, they count for the full tribute. So that's where these cards kind of fall short. But also another place where this card kind of really shines is during the main phase, you can banish it and another Nekroz monster, add another Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. And it can be done with monsters on the field, while as these 3 original ones, you have to control no monsters to be able to banish them. So they really corrected this card, and I think it's phenomenal. I think that's probably what all these cards should have been, like, should have said in a way, is if you ritual summon, they can equal or exceed, but these 3 have to equal. So, yeah. You play 2 of it because it allows you to search out anything, and 2, it's arguably the best one you have access to. Kaleidoscope here is pretty powerful in itself. It allows you to use monsters from the extra deck to ritual summon not 1, but as many, or up to 2, I believe. You can summon any number of Nekroz ritual. So if you send a level 7 Synchro or a level 7 Fusion, you can pretty much ritual summon out your Unicorn and your Clauseless from your hands, which is pretty crazy. But most of the time, you're sending a level 4 from the extra deck, whether it be Intis or Herald, to summon out your Unicorn so you can search. So it's pretty crazy that way. Mirror allows you to ritual summon from the graveyard by banishing the cards from the graveyard, which is kind of cool because, again, you can just banish like a 3 and a Brio and a Clauseless to equal your Trish, or a Brio and a Clauseless to equal your Metaltron. Or if you have Shirt in the graveyard, you can also use Shirt as the full tribute in the graveyard. And Nekroz Cycle allows you to ritual summon from the graveyard. So again, you activate this, can you ritual from the graveyard? So there's a lot of utility and stuff like that all these spells kind of have. They all allow you to ritual summon from different locations and all that fine jazz. Something I guess I should make clear, I don't know if I made it clear, like they allow you to ritual summon using material, but your ritual, you can also always just ritual summon from the hand. That's something that you can do. You can ritual summon from the hand, and just use material depending, etc. So, which is kind of wild because these are 5 ritual spells. I almost jumped away real quick. These 5 ritual spells, you can get away with playing these 5. Maybe you can play more, but I've never found a need to play more because in the grind game, you're able to play this card called Preparation of Rites. This card is pretty insane because it searches literally your entire deck minus your big names, your level 7 or higher ritual monsters. But then it turns all your, this is pretty much, it turns all your names into like more. So Preparation of Rites become 6 Brionacs, which become 9 Advances or 9 Amelias, or, Clauseless, which searches these things out. It becomes essentially 4 Clauselesses. But there's just some math behind it. Prep goes into Brio. Brio can search Clauseless. So technically you have 3, 6. You have a lot of math to play in here. But what's cool is this card allows you to add, and then if on resolution, not on resolution, but when you activate this card, if you have any of these 3 ritual spells in your graveyard, you can add them back from your hand. So it allows you to have some pretty cool plays with a Rebear, being able to send them from the deck to the graveyard. It allows you to get access to Kaleidoscope if you're missing it and stuff like that. So Prep is just super powerful in this deck. It just searches everything and it allows you to get recursion for the long game, which is also pretty nice. On to the next best engine, in my opinion, that you should play with this deck is the Triple Nadir Servant. And then for me, I'm opting to play 1 Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Dogmatica Maximus, and 1 Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous. You do not have to play these 2 cards at all, so that leaves you, free up 2 extra spaces if you wanted to keep it at 43 or go down to 41. But I wanted to get max value out of this package, and I just feel like this does it. So the reason you're playing Ecclesia, even though most of us probably say you don't have to, but the reason I play Ecclesia is because in some instances when you get hand trapped, because in an ideal world you'll play uninterrupted, right? So in that uninterrupted game state, you're going to be able to not have to worry about, using Maximus. But sometimes you're going to get hit with Disruption, where you have to use Maximus to potentially sometimes ritual out one of your inboard pieces. And then if you do that, in the end phase of dumping Titaniclad, what are you doing? If you add Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, you can't use it. So you just summon out the Ecclesia and then add the Fleur-de-Lis. But also this card actually has synergy in the sense of there's different lines you can do. This gives you access to Maximus. There is kind of cool synergies. It's another searchable card that you can use with Servant. If you open Maximus, you can search out this, which then would allow the Maximus to potentially dump, Titaniclad. So during the end phase, you can search out the Fleur-de-Lis. But there is an argument to not play this, and I opted, you cannot play it. That's very likely. And maybe in the future list, I'll catch myself taking this out. But so far, and especially in the locals, it was fine. It's tribute fodder at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So, but when I went post side deck, I did catch myself siding these 2 cards out quite a bit. So maybe you just side out the, you just take out the Ecclesia, period, and then you just keep Fleur-de-Lis in. But yeah, I don't know yet. Like I said, I'm still testing. Maybe there's comfortability because the instances I had with this is where I'd open Maximus and your Servant would search out the Knighted, but I think I would probably get too narrow-minded or too tunnel vision and thinking that Maximus has to send Titaniclad because your extra deck is so free. You definitely have other cards you can send, man. So I think for sure moving forward, maybe Ecclesia would be on the chopping block. But I do not agree with cutting out Fleur-de-Lis unless, post side deck, because Fleur-de-Lis just gives you layer disruption. Getting yourself to add this to your hand gives you a pretty powerful inboard in the sense of if it's just a Reed Bear Unicorn plus Fleur-de-Lis, that's still 3 disruptions. So enough rambling on this. I do plan to do a combo video showcasing 1 and 2 card combos that this deck does have access to and everything. And the Dogmatic or Nadir Servant is a 1-card combo. I did a video a long time ago, pre-ban list, when we had Bahamut Shark, so now I'm gonna have to go through and do it again. But anyway, for the non-engine, this is all we have for non-engine right here. This is not a lot by any means, so this is where I will tell you my choices and why I'd make changes moving here. So 3 Fuaros. I do believe this deck needs to play up Mulchummy in some form or fashion. If you can't afford Fuaros, play Perilia. Just play Perilia or Fuaros, whichever one reaches your wallet better. But this card is super strong. It allows you to draw into more cards, which allows you to get more searches and more monsters in the hand to ritual summon and stuff like that. I played for this locals, if you guys watched the Versus video, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, and then I'll just go and show these 2 cards here, Triple T and Call By. These cards will stay in my opinion. But this right here is essentially your non-engine. And arguably, my argument was like, I need to play Ash. If Ash doesn't, at worst case, Ash is hitting a Mulchummy. But if you guys, like Mulchummies don't hurt this deck, period. Like, you're able to play around and pivot around them so freely that sometimes getting hit with one, you just give them 1 draw, maybe 2 draws, and that's okay. You're not giving them a bunch of draws. And that's what's wild, is the deck's ability to pivot around the Mulchummies. So, like, Ash, I couldn't even really justify it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to draw Ash for turn or just open 1 Ash. Same with Imperm. Imperm being better than Ash in the sense of, like, at least, you can set it. So I think these cards will come out for Ultimate Slayer and Salesman. And everyone's going to be like, well, why are you going to play Salesman in the main deck? Because Salesman, this deck literally dies to Droll. Okay, so Droll comes in, it's our Silver Bullet. So you open Salesman going first, you call Salesman, you call Droll and Lockbird. Your deck can literally eat 1 or 2 hand traps pretty easily. At least those 4 cards in your hand will be able to eat, hand traps, and you're going to be able to play through something, right? You don't have to worry about Droll just ending your turn. And then going second, you're able to go Salesman and call a monster, call a spell, call a trap that you know that they have access to, or a monster that they have on the field. I use an example in the Versus series, since Mitsurugi Ryzeal is a pretty crazy thing out there. You kind of can out Mitsurugi or Ryzeal a lot easier. So like, essentially, depending, you just go Salesman, call the Habakiri, essentially. I think that's one, right? The Murakuro, whatever it is, the one that blows the board. You call that card. They respond with you to negate, you discard a card. Now that card is literally, they've used the negate, they can't Regeki, and the Regeki is like the next worst thing to have to deal with. Or, if they have Detonator, you go Salesman, call Detonator. You'd much rather deal with a cross, 1 cross negate versus the 4 pops Detonator would give plus a cross. So, like, you know what I mean? So that's the theory behind there. But then post side deck, Ultimate Slayer can stay in when you're going second, and Salesman can come out for something a little bit more high impact, more trading. I've been testing a card such as Gordion Slicer, because essentially if you banish a bunch of cards in your hand and you'll have like 6 cards in your hand, you can pretty much like banish face up. So like if it's kind of cool, right? So if you banish a bunch of Nekroz cards in your hand, you normal summon advance effect. They try to interact with this in some form or fashion. You chain the Nekroz Divine Mirror, attributing it to summon out another monster from your hand. So then you're going to be able to essentially add the 2 cards you banished back, which is still like, it's still like free recursion in a way. But yeah, that's these 2 cards I think will always stay in. Post side, I always side these cards out just because of my mentality with these cards. These cards are solely for going first, so you need another card to go for second. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is it for the main deck. 43 cards. Like I said, you guys can change stuff the way you want to. I would argue there's a world where I'd even say that the Nadir package here also ties into non-engine, just because of its ability to break boards in a way. Nadir Servant just allowing you to get to Maximus to be able to pop a card. Literally, Servant sent Intis, Maximus sent Intis. You're popping 2 cards, potentially drawing 1, searching 1. Fleur-de-lis being able to check boards when going second, especially if you hard open it, or if you open any of these, you can use Nadir Servant to search another. And then, like, once Maximus sticks, Fleur-de-lis live to be able to counter stuff. Ecclesia, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of stuff going second for it, you know what I mean? But it does allow you to special summon itself. There's an extra deck monster on the field, which is pretty crazy. And then it can search out your Fleur-de-lis in the ability to, like, check things. I mean, there's definitely things, you know what I mean? There's definitely lines and sequencings and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think I said moving forward, maybe we see ourselves cutting Ecclesia. Maybe once we get to the safety net, you know what I mean, of the cards we have. But moving on to the extra deck. I'm sorry, guys. Don't mean to ramble and take your time. Rebear, like I said, Rebear is my favorite Nekroz card. This extra deck is totally, entirely up to you. Build it how you want to, but I'll show you the skeleton, the template that I was using. I think I'm missing 1 card, and there's different routes you can do it. I just didn't want to dig through my bulk to find it. But anyway, for essentially your Nadir Servant, Kaleidoscope, and Maximus targets, you have double Herald of the Arclight, self-explanatory. As soon as it goes to graveyard, search a ritual. 1 Omega to put stuff back. double Entis to pop things, 1 Garura to draw a card, 1 Titaniclad to be able to get that in-phase search or summon of Ecclesia or search of the Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Tri-Brigade Farragut to get that draw put back, 1 Totally Awesome to be able to grab back from Graveyard. You can change this lineup however you want. If you cut out the Fleur-de-Lis and the Ecclesia, you have no need for Titaniclad. There you go. You know what I mean? You can just cut it out for something else if you want to. I really found myself not utilizing Omega at all, but like I said, I want to test a lot more. You can't really like learn and, you know, build everything depending on like one locals. You have to hit multiple locals to kind of fabricate and do a lot of testing sessions to kind of like fabricate your own opinion. But currently after the first locals, I can say Omega never came up, so you definitely have another spot to put in another utility card that you could potentially send. As you notice, I'm really not playing any other. There's no level 7 synchro because I just found the need not to, but I do believe there's a level 7 synchro that allows it to pop a card when it's sent, so it'd be a good kaleidoscope option, you know. But anyway, moving on to utility, I have 1 Little Knight, 1 Baguska, then 1 Borbo, 1 Chakanine, and 1 Zeus. So this is 14 cards. The 15 card could be Dynamundo. You could even play the Magistus Artemis if you wanted to be able to, because all the level 4 minus Shirit Nekroz cards are spellcaster, so you can turn in there, and then if you open like Ecclesia or something like that, you can special it out. It just kind of like makes the Fleur-de-Lis and Ecclesia live in a way. But I do actually really like this right here. I actually think this is, not a lot of people see this coming. You go Chakanine to Borbo, attack directly, make a Zeus, and then send 2 cards. It's kind of crazy, especially if you open something like Nadir or you open something like the Maximus Hard Open It. Once you like smoke in with the Zeus and send everything, and then you have extra deck monsters in the graveyard for your Maximus to be free. It's kind of wild. But again, these are 3 spots that if you don't want to play this, you have 3 spots to put in there. Baguska, I think 100% has to be in, because if you get drolled, you have to have a plan B, which is Baguska. You just normal summon, you know, your advance summons Amelia searches. Droll, okay, well, it looks like you overlay for Baguska and pray, right? SP Little Knight, it's just here because sometimes you can make it. It allows you to solve another spot removal card in the extra deck in a way. I found like the extra deck cards aren't too important because most of the time your inboard consists of Unicorn, so whatever you have is not that important. That's why like I miss Bahamut Shark, is because Toad can negate underneath Unicorn, but we just don't have no way to get it out anymore without Bahamut Shark, so RIP Bahamut. You could play a card called Cold Igniter, which allows you to 2 level 4s. Then you can detach and ritual summon from the. It allows you to ritual summon. So in the sense of you get denied access to your ritual spells, that card would allow you to, you know, potentially, you know, ritual summon. You could play. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of all the different type of targets you could play for this. There's like that Fossil Knight, Fossil Soldier thing that you could play. Tons of them. But yeah, this is not finalized, guys, by any means, so do not take this as gospel. Like I said, I'm going to move forward and probably do some extreme changes to the non-engine lineup. I was really pleased with the engine line, I'd say. Like, I don't think any Nekroz names will change, but I do think I would fool around with like maybe the ratios with the Dogmatica cards, fool around with the ratios of non-engine and put in board breakers and stuff like that. But in this right here, I might fool around with this and change around some of the ratios and stuff like that to especially, like I said, Omega. I've yet to, like, Omega never came up once, so Omega should probably not be there. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Comment down below your guys' opinions, your guys' lists, your spicy text and all that stuff. But without further ado, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. This is Charles from Team COG signing out.